Hello, my name's Adam Molina, and I'm an insurance agent in the trucking industry. I've been doing that since about 2007 and pretty proud of the fact that we've stuck around this long through all the turbulent changes in the trucking industry, ups and downs. There's definitely been some major of both. Right now, I think everybody can agree that it is one of the downtimes of the trucking industry because of various factors. That conversation can go on and on and on, and I can build subscribers for this YouTube channel, but that's not the intention. The intention is basically just to inform you as a trucking company owner or as an owner operator, maybe somebody that owns equipment and is going to be leasing on to a company. So I'll do some sort of introduction to this series in this video and a small introduction for each video, because over the next few days I want to take it very serious, upload as much information as possible, because I am in the grind, I am working. I'm hoping I don't get a phone call while I do this video, because it's important to me to make money, and it's also important for me to share this information. So my company is AMA, founded in 2011. The initials are for Alice, Mario, and Adam, kind of showing that we're a family-owned business, but I am the sole producer. My mom and dad are both retired. So this is what I love to do. This is my passion, and I didn't expect that this would be when I started the career. So what is today's video about? Well, they're going to be about different things related to trucking and trucking insurance, but mostly just an understanding of how this industry works. And once you understand it, you can navigate it yourself, right? Like, you'll know what questions to ask an underwriter, you'll know what, or an insurance agent. But more importantly, that was a little bit of a faux pas, slip up. It'll let you know what questions to ask your insurance agent, and then they can there relate that to the underwriter, because there's a buffer zone there most times. So today's video is about analyzing your CLUE report. So I did a little bit of research. I've got it on my screen here. Ultimately, I know what role the CLUE report plays in the trucking industry, but I didn't really know too much about what it is. So the CLUE report, CLUE, C-L-U-E, stands for Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange. So we've learned that data is more valuable than oil now. What does that mean? That means that people are buying data, selling data, and that is doing multiple different roles in whatever industry they're involved with. The CLUE report is related to homeowners, home purchases, or different types of major purchases. And if you Google it, it does just relate to home buying. It doesn't say anything about trucking. So what does it do? Well, it basically is a conglomerate of information about you. Not your LLC, not your S Corp, not your INC, not your LP, your limited partnership, about you. So you're like, wait, I open an LLC to kind of eliminate myself from the picture and start fresh. That's typically the idea of why somebody would start an LLC, along with some layers of protection in a lawsuit. That'll be for a later video, but I'll just kind of give you a spoiler alert. It's called Piercing the Corporate Veil, something we'll talk about later. But today, CLUE report. So the CLUE report is that conglomerate of data that is taking your information on any claims you might have had and in your personal past. But more so, it's a score. So there's a CLUE report score. The insurance companies, let's say you start a new trucking company and you have no background in the industry under that LLC. You might have been driving for somebody else, but now you start this new trucking company, the new LLC, the new MC number, the new US DOT number, new to you. And congratulations to you for that. So you're out there getting quotes for insurance. They're asking a lot of personal information about you. And this can be confusing because you're thinking they should just focus on the LLC. the tax ID number, the state, those factors. Those do play a role, but very small compared to the Clue report, because as a new company, you've not developed any skin in the game. And when you've developed that experience, people can analyze that experience and issue a quote, typically during the renewal process. So after your first year, second year, third year, that data becomes more and more relevant to the insurance companies, and the Clue report kind of fades away. But initially, the Clue report is the key. So how does the Clue report generate its information? Well, it outsources. So it's buying all of this information or gathering all of this information, which is why I use the word conglomerate. One thing, and it may be featured in a later video, is the LexisNexis report. So let's say there's something on your Clue report, and for example, David and David Jr. David Sr. is the trucking company owner. David Jr. is his 16-year-old son, still in high school. So David Sr. is trying to get a quote, and all of a sudden they're saying, hey, you have 2 accidents, 2 speeding tickets, bunch of claims, and he says, whoa, I've never had anything. He goes and he pulls his Clue report to find out that it is his son that they are accidentally referencing. In this case, he would have to go to LexisNexis. So I'm now speaking specifically about trucking. This might be relatable to home purchases or other versions of insurance or other factions in the industry, in the consumer industry. But for today and for me, it's trucking insurance tips. I'm focused on the trucking aspect. So David would have to contact LexisNexis, LEXUS, NEXUS, and dispute that. I'm actually giving you a real example with a different name of something that has happened to one of my clients in the past. This process can take like 90 days. So in the meantime, David Sr. is impacted heavily because all the insurance quotes coming back are way too high in an already turbulent industry. So the key is the Clue report. Basically, you can't really change anything in the Clue report, but you can change the outside companies that are reporting to that Clue report. So when you get an insurance quote, they don't have documents to show your experience. So that is probably the primary source of information that they are using for your insurance quote. So you start an LLC, maybe it's even an S Corp, and you're trying to remove yourself through layers because of lawsuits, especially frivolous lawsuits that could heavily impact your home that you worked hard for. I wouldn't be offended by that if I were you. It's just part of the understanding that they need to quote you as a risk. So you might often be referred to as a risk instead of client or potential insured. Don't be offended by that, but it is somewhat of an offensive term to hear. Oh, I'm a risk? Of course you're a risk. Everybody is a risk. I'm a risk. You're a risk. When in the eyes of an insurance company, and especially when developing a quote. So I could think of very few companies, if any, in the trucking world that don't look at the Clue report in one way or another. We'll get into that later on because, like I said, information is the key. Sometimes that Clue report is incorporated into something bigger called the CAB report, Central Analysis Bureau. That's going to be in a later video as well. These factors are what the insurance companies look at when quoting you for the first time. After the first time, on renewal year 2, year 3, year 4, the other documents like loss runs or other factors play a role instead of so much relying on the Clue report. So analyzing your Clue report is a key factor. Let me just Google How do I order my clue report? So, to view your clue report, you go online, or you can call 866-897-8126. 866-897-8126. And you'll be able to talk to somebody about your clue report and request it. Or you can email LexisNexis documents at LexisNexisRisk.com. LexisNexis risk.com. Documents at LexisNexisRisk.com. So those are the ways that you can order your clue report and analyze this. And again, understand that they are looking at that as your primary quoting factor for insurance. David's wife might have had a more favorable clue report than David. So he might tell his wife, in this case, let's say he has no issues and David Jr. has been fixed, right? And it's no longer impacting his clue report. But he says, well, my wife has better credit, a better profile than I do. So I'm going to put the company in her name and I'm going to be her driver. Well, as a new venture, that's kind of give and take, because as a new venture, you have very few insurance companies that'll give you a quote. Everybody and their mother runs to Progressive, right? But as an insurance agent like me that's been open since 2011, I understand that Progressive is not the only player in the game, and as a matter of fact, sometimes can be the worst player in the game. So I have options. But here's where we get into the intricacies of why I'm making these videos. And if you watch them all, I think you'll have a really good understanding of how to guide somebody that maybe you're talking to about getting a trucking company, or how to guide yourself. Or if you're David's wife in this example, how to guide David on this, because you're doing your own research for your husband. Because you know that he's passionate about being an entrepreneur, taking his equipment and his experience, combining them together and starting a trucking company. Bravo to David, and he's probably great at what he does, but having support like a spouse or a dispatching service or even an insurance agent can be a vital role in establishing your company for 20 or 30 years. The beginning is the key, the first step, right? So Progressive doesn't care who owns the company. They don't care if David's wife is the owner of the LLC and she hires a driver. There is a 20% increase for it being a non-driving owner. David has 15 years CDL experience, but his wife, she doesn't have any managerial experience for a trucking company. She's not a trucker herself, and so forth. So that's just going to exclude David and his new LLC and his wife. It's going to exclude them from some of the major companies in the industry that compete against Progressive. Here's why. Underwriting guidelines. That's going to be in another video. So putting all this stuff together is really going to help you. But underwriting guidelines might stipulate, look, if they're a new venture, the owner has to be a driver. They might even go a step further in different insurance companies and say the owner has to be a driver and they can't add any new trucks for their first year in business. These are things that help insurance companies stay financially stable and strong in the case of a catastrophe. So if a big hurricane comes out and takes the whole East Coast, certain insurance companies can pay all of those claims and stay in business and still be solid. So that is where the financial strength of an insurance company comes in. Again, another video for another time. But today we're focusing on the clue report, and I wanted you to know that David, as the owner, might want to focus on improving his Clue report prior to starting the company, and just instead of just saying my wife has a better Clue report or a better score, so let's do it in her name. There's nothing wrong with having David and his wife on the LLC, but you want to make sure that the owner is the the driver is the primary owner. So if it's 51 and 49%, want to make sure that the 51% ownership goes to the owner of the driver of the company. This will allow David to get as many quotes as possible. As much as I would like to say the names of the insurance companies, that's not the intention of my video today. I don't want to start confusing the issue. Today's video is about the Clue report, how that's going to affect you over time, how you can, because it does diminish in value over time as you gain documents, but more so its role up front. When you're starting this policy, when you're shopping for insurance quotes, what insurance companies are looking at, it's the Clue report, tied in with LexisNexis and the Central Analysis Bureau CAB report. So all of these factors are going to determine your quote. Progressive, and like I said, I don't want to get too into the weeds on how they quote, but some companies look at David's credit score. It's a soft hit. If David monitors his credit, he won't even notice that Progressive does that. Basically what they're doing is they're looking at David and his address. And as long as David has lived at that address for longer than 6 months, they can develop an analysis of what his price should be. Let's say David starts a new address for his company and provides his name and date of birth with that new address. It's not going to get a favorable Clue hit because there's no history there. So all in all, I think this video may generate questions because maybe I left something out, or maybe I even said something slightly wrong and you know better, because a real estate agent would probably know more about the Clue report than a trucking insurance agent. Because a real estate agent is really working hand in hand with David, analyzing his report with him and trying to beef up his score over time. As trucking insurance agents, we have a less of a hands-on role with that and more of a hands-on role with helping to manage the day-to-day tasks of a trucking company, because that is something that we do. Anyway, I think this may generate some questions or some issues, so please go ahead and put that in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and read what Google Artificial Intelligence, Google Bard says about your Clue report. You can request a copy of your Clue report every 12 months and there is no charge. The Clue report is maintained by LexisNexis, a research company that compiles consumer reports. Then it goes on into how that affects home purchasing. So all of that is tied to that industry when you're looking at Google. So I'm glad that I came here to make this video for you. And if you're glad to, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That was my first time saying it, but I hope to see you around in the comments section. And like I said, I'll be issuing out some other videos, things like Bailey coverage. What is that? Explain how cargo insurance and cargo claims follow the bill of lading. Things that impact your CDL. The MCS 150 and the top 5 mistakes, and so on and so on. I think I have about 30 videos prepared. So this being the first video of this series, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, liking it, sharing it, and subscribing to the channel. Talk to you soon.